I'm a cop magnet. So I would everywhere I would go, just I would have some type of interaction with the cop. Whether I get arrested or not, it was always something.
Right.
Um, but yeah, so I it was like about a month later from the last charge that I got, which was a felony, and or was going to court for that, and woke up blacked out in jail, and I realized that if I keep living this way, I'm gonna kill myself, or I'm gonna end up in prison for the rest of my life. Those two options are clear to me. Like those are the only two options I had left. Um, like that I could envision in my mind at that time. And that's when I got on my knees and prayed. I prayed to something. And I've done many prayers before, all the time, like help me, get me out of this. Why do I feel this way? Why am I being, going through all this torture, trauma, wounds, and all that.
Mhm.
Um, but that during that time, something hit me. It was like an out of body experience, honestly. Like I was still drunk, I was still in a blackout, and I just remember like looking at myself, and at the cell, in the cell. I was in the cell by myself, and I remember looking at myself and being like, um, like from a third person point of view, and I saw myself praying and asking for help, and that was September 17th, 2016, and that was the last day I drank, and I got out of jail that day, and uh, went through a lot more other hardships, but it really flipped a switch for me, and then by then it wasn't just like a one thing miracle white light experience.
Right.
It was I had to put in work. I had to change my whole life, and that included education. I was at the city college at the time already, but I was failing all my classes. So straight failed all my classes, and by the time was going back, I had to appeal for like the third or fourth time. So by that time, it's already you're appealing to the dean. The first, second time, they kind of slap on the wrist. Then the
Right.
third time, it's like, all right, what are you doing here? So I had to really put in effort to stay in school. And that's where I found my recovery community too. Moved into a sober living and lived there for about 6 months. And yeah, then I started my education journey there at Santa Barbara City College
Mhm.
and found my little family there too. So I found a family, community family outside of school, which is my recovery community. And then I found my family in school, and that's pretty much like how I sustained my sobriety and my journey, and found my passion of just wanting to get back
Get
to my
better.
community.
Yeah. Let me ask, because man, your story is very, very inspirational. I hope you know that. Do you know that?
Yeah, I mean, when I look back at it, I'm like, oh shit, it's a crazy story, but I forget, so I'm privileged to be, I'm always privileged to talk about it and share about it because,
Yeah,
it's just, it is a sacred story that I have.
it is.
And I'm just always honored to share it,
Well,
with anybody that'll
yeah,
listen.
let me ask you this though. So many of us, I'll use me. I spent my whole life wanting the validation of my father.
Mhm,
And so many men, that's what we're yearning for. It's easy for me to go and get the nurturing from my mom.
mhm,
I'm a mama's boy and I call her all the time, but I want the same thing for my dad, but it's not acceptable for me to go to my father the way I go to my mom.
mhm.
And so, can you share a little bit more about your relation with your dad? Because obviously, you're like, you wanted him to be proud of you.
Yeah,
And so, therefore, you did things hoping that validation would come.
yeah.
What's that relationship like? How is it transformed?
So it's taken a lot of years to, come to a place where we're okay. Me and him used to butt heads a lot. I'm exactly like him, and that's what pisses us off the most. and he knows my buttons because he installed them, and and I know his buttons because
You're him.
I reflect him. And so we used to bump heads a lot. We'd always fight. And uh, and yeah, so it wasn't a good relationship that we had. And there's moments in my life where I truly didn't give a shit if he lived or died, like truly. And but that was back then. Now it's taken a better turn, and it's still a work in progress. There's still a lot to work on, but we've connected in small ways where I've been able to um, connect with him, like a father son relationship.
Right.
And those are moments that I cherish. I love that. And I haven't really seen my dad cry too many times, but I witnessed him crying a few weeks ago when my grandpa died. And it wasn't even like super like crazy, but I was able to be there with them, and hold them, and tell them I loved them.
Mm.
So that's how our relationship has built.
Was that the
Now,
first time you told your dad you loved him?
no, I've told him a few times, but it's very rare. So it's not like a normal thing. And my dad's also been sober for about like 4 or 5 years now too, 5 or 6 years. I forget because I wasn't really keeping track. But I know he's been sober for a few years now, and so because of that, we've been able to build a lot more of a closer relationship. But still work in progress for
We're in
sure.
progress.
And yeah, so that's something that I definitely want to work more on, and that's something that I connected with in your book too.
Mm.
When I was reading your book, I was like, I was I was thinking about my dad the whole time. I was like, I want my dad to read this book,
Mm.
and I shared it because I was like, we have a group chat. I shared that I'm gonna be on your podcast.
Mhm.
He's like, oh, get the book. So he wants the
I
book, so
got
I'm
him.
gonna give him the book. He wants to read it, and so that's crazy. That's mind blowing to me. And my dad's ex gang member. He's was in and out of jail his whole life. Lived a hard life, and now he's like open to reading a book, about a father, your book.
Mm.
And I was like, that's crazy. It's mind blowing to me. So it's still definitely a work in progress, but it's going, it's going. And I have so much love for my dad.
Mm.
Always since I was a little kid, always looked up to him, always wanted to be him.
Mm.
And it's like a love and hate thing, when I was growing up with him, because he wasn't he did the best with what he did, what he knew. And for that I forgive him for everything, because I knew he was being the best dad he knew how to be.
Mm.
And for him, growing up with the way he grew up, he's amazing. The person that he is, I think he's amazing. um, but obviously when you compare it to other standards, like he's you can't compare.
Yeah,
You
you
can't
can't
compare.
compare.
But yeah, he's I have so much love for him.